Hi there, and thank you for tuning in. My copy of the D750 has been with me now for more than a year, and I think I have enough experience now with the camera to give my thoughts on the good and the bad about this camera. It's not going to be a complete or an exhaustive review covering all corners of the D750, but some of the highlights that I, as a happy enthusiast, have encountered. I suggest you check the full specs of this camera and of course other reviews if you are considering to buy the D750. This is just one guy's opinion. Back in September 2014, Nikon released the D750 camera, and back then the retail price was around $2,400. Here in late 2019, the camera was offered on Black Friday sales for prices as low as $1,000, and some comments on various blogs suggest the price was even lower than that. So a significant price drop since the introduction of the camera. The D750 is also a 5-year-old camera body, which in this day and age seems to be forever. And the professional seems to go for the mirrorless cameras with the release of the C6 and the C7s. But my copy has been with me now for more than a year, and despite the fact that I also own several mirrorless cameras, I plan the D750 to stay with me also in 2020. So maybe the D750 could also be a good enthusiast camera for you, but let's start to look at what you will not get if you buy the D750, and then afterwards dive into what you will get. First of all, if you're a video or hybrid shooter with the ambition to make 4K video, then the D750 will disappoint you. It only does 1080p, but it does so very well. However, it is not 4K. If you drink too much coffee like me or simply would like to shoot with a slow shutter speed without getting blurred pictures due to camera shake, then the D750 itself cannot help you. There is no in-body image stabilization. You can get F-mount lenses with built-in stabilization, but the body itself has no stabilization. The LCD screen is not fully articulating, it only flips up and down, and the LCD is not touch sensitive, meaning that zooming in and out is done via pushing buttons. I think you can get used to it, but I use swiping and pinching all the time on my smartphone, so I really do miss it on the D750. The autofocus system is very good, and I understand it is the same system that sits in the big brother, the D810, but measured towards a modern mirrorless camera, the 51 focus points and the fact that they sit very much towards the center of the frame cannot match a modern mirrorless where you easily find several hundred focus points and covering most of the frame, especially the edges and the corners. Also, the advanced autofocus systems you see today with an eye detect is not part of what the D750 has to offer. As this is a DSLR, there's no focus peak or focus zoom option to help you focus with a manual focus lens. The D750 has a little indicator in the bottom left of the optical viewfinder, but is not as easy to use as focus peak systems where you can almost see the focal plane walking back and forth as you change the focus. Likewise, the level indicator is only available in live view. It is not to be seen in the optical viewfinder. Quiet operation is not a 750 stronghold. On the contrary, it seems like the D750 enjoys to be loud and noisy. It has a so-called quiet mode, but it is not really very quiet at all, is it? A dedicated ISO button on top of the camera would be nice. You can reprogram the video record button on top of the camera to act as the ISO button, but for reasons beyond me, it also activates the LCD, which I find to be a bit annoying if you're using the optical viewfinder. With all the negative stuff out of the way, and I hope you haven't fallen asleep yet, let's look at the positives with the D750. First of all, this is a very good camera for stills. I know the megapixel war is on and that 24 megapixel today may be in the low end of the scale, but many manufacturers have 24 megapixels or thereabout as a sweet spot for good and sufficient resolution. Unless you print very large or want to crop heavily, I think you as an enthusiast will find that the resolution the D750 offers is more than enough. On top of this, the D750 is a full frame camera and the color rendition is great in my opinion. Even the JPEGs I find to look amazing straight out of the camera. And don't take my words for it, if you Google amongst written reviews or benchmarks, the D750 is still a top performer. Add to this the low light performance of the D750, which is outstanding. This camera sees in the dark, and this is the case for both the sensor and the autofocus system. I know that some will argue that photography is writing with light and that the low light performance is irrelevant. They will argue that I should buy a flash, But I love low light and I love low key photography, and none of my other cameras that are all mirrorless can compete with the low light performance of the D750 in my humble opinion. And I have several times in post-processing recovered details that I could not see with my naked eye when I took the picture. A third area where I really enjoy the D750, especially in compared with the mirrorless, is in terms of ergonomics. The body feels really solid, it is weather sealed, the grip is deep, most buttons and dials sit where they should, and the battery life is outstanding. I have never bought a grip for my D750 for the simple reason that the ergonomics without is very, very good, and that one battery, in my case, can last for a full day of shooting. Not so with the mirrorless. I think that has to do with the power required to feed the electronic viewfinder. On the note of benchmarking towards the mirrorless cameras, I simply enjoy that this camera is ready to go in no time. When I do street photography, I sometimes miss a situation simply because the mirrorless camera takes a few seconds to be ready. It's like booting a computer or starting your television set. It takes a little while to be ready. Not so with the D750, it is ready in no time. I really miss that on my mirrorless systems. Another thing that is important to some is the fact that the D750 has dual card slots. For event shooters, this is key. And to me, this is also a strong signal that Nikon back in the days when this camera was launched knew that many professionals would consider this camera due to its many qualities and the price point. The dual card slot was the little extra thing that made professionals go for the D750, even though it probably was targeted for the serious enthusiast. The D750 has Nikon's old F-mount lens interface that has been around since Donald Duck was an egg. Nikon's new interface for the mirrorless world is the C-mount or Z-mount, and I doubt that we will see many new lenses in the future for the F-mount from Nikon as such. Maybe from third-party vendors like Sigma or Samyang. The amount of both second-hand and new glass and lenses for the F-mount system is huge, and you can on a budget get hold of glass, used glass that is, that for other systems would simply break the bank. You may not get the latest and greatest in terms of coding and super silent autofocus motors, but if you shoot for example landscape or flowers or macro, I doubt you will miss it. And if you buy the right glass with screwdriver autofocus, you can enjoy the comfort of autofocus via the motor that is built into the D750 camera body. There are many other things I could mention regarding the D750, like the built-in flash, the Wi-Fi connection, that it is well equipped with connectors, that it shoots 6.5 frames per second, that the max shutter speed is 1/4000 of a second, and so on. But I stay clear of that to underline that the main point here is that this is a great stills camera with tons of second-hand glass available on eBay or Amazon or wherever you shop. And if you can cave in a little bit on prestige and maybe not owning the latest and greatest, I think you will find that the D750 is a fantastic stills camera that will deliver great pictures also well into the 2020s. So that wraps up my review of the Nikon D750, and as you've guessed, it is a camera that I'm very pleased with. I think it has served me well. Also, I would like to point to the other video I have several about this camera, but when I made the original purchase, I made a very lengthy, unfortunately, unboxing video, and I've taken a lot of flair for that because it took me 8 minutes to unpack this camera. But what I do talk about while I do that is how I ended up with this one and not the competition, you can say, within the Nikon lineup, the 810, the 610 and the 850. Why I ended up with this one, I think that is also a consideration you should do. You should also consider, of course, some of the competition. I think that Canon recently has released the EOS R, which price point wise is getting closer to the Nikon 750 here. But of course the problem for the Canon, which is a mirrorless camera, is that there's very little glass out there. But of course that will change over time, and I definitely think the Canon should be on your short list of things to look into. Finally, I guess we all like to make informed decisions and the right decisions relative to our decision criteria and personal preferences. But I just want to make a little point here towards the end of this video, because I can see a lot of the traffic on my channel relates to camera and gear selection and decisions. And that is all fair. I think we all want to make informed decisions. But I just want to point to this book here. I think it's a few years old, and I think there's one made every year. But the point here is that these are some fantastic pictures that you find in this book. I would highly recommend you go and buy buy one of these. It's great inspiration. Also, if you have a day where you're a little bit tired of photography, a book like this can really inspire you to get back on track. And the interesting part here in relation to camera decisions and camera selection, I think, is that when you look at the list here in the back, because they made a list of the photographers, all their settings for the camera, and also the camera, what camera type it was, you will see that there is no clear winner. It's Canon, it's Nikon, it's Sony, it's Leica. It's not one specific model. I thought the 810 would be very dominating, but that's not the case. You find 7100s, you find all sorts of cameras here, D610s, Canon EOS, I could go on. So the point is that I fully understand we all want to make informed decisions, and we should spend some time on making the right choices in terms of camera, but don't overdo it. Don't spend too much time on a video like this one. Spend the time on getting out there and taking some great photos. Okay, thank you for watching. As always, happy shooting. Take care. Bye-bye.